Welcome home, to the Mercy Vine. If you found your way here tonight, carrying more than your body can hold, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Maybe today asked too much of you. Maybe your mind keeps turning over the same worry, again and again, like a stone you can't put down. Maybe you don't even know why your chest feels tight tonight, only that it does. Before we go any further, before your eyes grow heavy and your breathing slows, I want you to know something. You were seen today. Every hour of it. Every silence you carried. Every ache you never said out loud. There is a quiet way God moves through a life. Not loud. Not forceful. He doesn't shout across the noise of your day to get your attention. He waits, patient as morning light, for the moment you're finally still enough to notice him. And tonight, you're still enough. So let me tell you about the small, unnoticed ways love has already touched you today, without you realizing it was him. Think back, was there a moment, however small, when something eased? A phone call that came at just the right time. A stranger who smiled when you needed it most. A song that played the exact words your heart needed to hear. You called it coincidence. Or luck. Or nothing at all. But nothing is ever nothing with God. He is the kind of Father who slips grace into ordinary hours, a held door, a warm meal, a friend who checked on you for no reason they could explain. He doesn't need thunder to announce himself. He simply shows up. Quietly. Faithfully. In the middle of your Tuesday, your grocery list, your tired drive home. This is the heart of what I want to share with you tonight, here on the Mercy Vine, the story of how a weary soul, much like yours, learned to feel the nearness of God in the smallest of things, and found, at the end of a long and aching season, more peace than she ever thought possible. Her name doesn't matter. Her story could be yours. She had been carrying a weight for so long that she'd stopped noticing it, the way you stop noticing a bag on your shoulder after miles of walking. Sleep had become a battle rather than a rest. Her thoughts arrived at night uninvited, circling the same fears, the same regrets, the same unanswered questions. Why is this so hard? Why does peace feel so far away? Why do I feel alone even in a room full of people? If any part of that sounds familiar to you, I want you to breathe in, slowly, and let it out even slower. You are not alone in this. Not tonight. Not ever, really, though I understand why it feels that way sometimes. Before this woman found her rest, she had to learn something first. She had to learn to notice. Because here is a gentle truth I want to plant in your heart before we go further together tonight. Before the Lord can carry the heavy things, He often asks us simply to notice that He's already near. Not to fix everything. Not to understand everything. Just to notice. The Good Shepherd doesn't wait for his sheep to find their own way home. He goes looking. He walks the hard paths, the rocky ones, the ones surrounded by thorns, because one lost, weary lamb matters enough to him to leave everything else behind. You are that lamb tonight. And if you're willing, I'd love for you to stay with me a little longer, to walk through her story, and maybe, find a piece of your own healing hidden inside it. Let your shoulders drop for a moment. Let your jaw unclench. You don't have to hold everything together right now, not here, not in this quiet space we're sharing. This is a place to set things down. She used to think that noticing God meant waiting for something dramatic, a voice from the sky, a sign written in the clouds. But that isn't usually how He works, not for her, and maybe not for you either. His nearness is softer than that, closer than that. It's in the friend who texts, thinking of you, at the exact moment you needed someone to. It's in the rain that finally comes after a long dry season, washing something clean in you that you didn't know needed washing. One evening, after a day that had worn her down to almost nothing, she sat by her window and simply asked, quietly, without any expectation, "Are you even here?" And in the stillness that followed, she felt something she couldn't explain. Not an answer in words. Just warmth. Just the sense of not being alone anymore. That was the beginning. Not an ending to her struggle, not yet, but a beginning. A door left open, just a little, letting the first thread of light in. That door left open, it didn't fix everything overnight. Grief doesn't work that way, and neither does healing. But something had shifted. She started paying attention differently. She began to keep a small list, nothing fancy, just a few lines in a notebook by her bed, of the moments each day that felt like they carried something more than chance. A coworker who offered to cover her shift the one week she couldn't have managed it alone. A verse that came to mind, unbidden, right when she needed to hear it. The way the sunlight fell through her kitchen window one ordinary Tuesday morning, and for just a moment, she felt entirely, unexplainably, held. She didn't know yet where this was leading. She only knew that hope, real hope, doesn't usually arrive like a lightning bolt. It arrives like dawn, slow, and quiet, and certain, whether you're watching for it or not. I want you to hold on to that thought tonight, wherever you are in your own story. Hope is not loud. It doesn't demand your attention the way fear does. It waits patiently at the edges of your day, for the moment you're finally quiet enough to let it in. There's an old story, one you may already know, about a young man who left his father's house. He took what was his, and he wasted it, chasing things that felt important at the time but left him empty. And when everything ran out, when he had nothing left, not even his pride, he found himself a long way from home, hungry, and utterly alone. You may know how the story ends. But I want you to sit with the middle of it for a moment, the walk home. Because that walk must have felt endless. Every step closer to home was also a step toward facing what he'd become, what he'd lost, what he might have to admit out loud. And yet, his father was already watching. Long before the son reached the gate, before a single word of apology had left his lips, his father saw him from far off, and ran to him. Ran to him. Not waited at the door with arms crossed. Not required an explanation first. He ran, while his son was still far away, while the boy was still covered in the dust and shame of everywhere he'd been. That is who God is. That is what love like his looks like. He doesn't wait for you to arrive perfectly put together. He runs toward you while you're still on the road, still unsure, still carrying more guilt than you should. If you have ever felt like you've wandered too far, done too much, waited too long to come back, I want you to hear this clearly tonight. There is no distance too great for him to cross. He is already running. This is part of why I wanted to build this space, here on the Mercy Vine, a home for tired hearts who need somewhere soft to land at the end of a long day. If this message is meeting you somewhere real tonight, I'd be so grateful if you'd let this channel walk with you a little longer. Subscribing simply helps these words find the next person who needs them, same as they're finding you right now. Now, back to her story. The woman I told you about began to notice something new happening in her own heart. The old questions were still there sometimes. Why is this so hard? Why does peace feel so far away? But they didn't sit as heavy as before. Something was loosening. Something was healing, quietly, the way a wound closes slowly from the inside out, long before you can see it on the surface. She started sleeping a little easier. Not because her circumstances had changed, they hadn't, not yet, but because she'd stopped carrying the weight of them alone. She had begun, without even fully realizing it, to hand pieces of her burden to someone who had been asking to carry them all along. If your circumstances haven't changed yet either, if you're still waiting, still hurting, still unsure how any of this resolves, I want you to know that hope doesn't require your situation to be fixed first. Hope simply asks you to believe that you are not walking alone. That is enough for tonight. That is enough to let your shoulders finally rest. There is a moment I want to share with you now, one that changed everything for the woman in this story, and I believe it can change something in you tonight too. It happened on a night much like this one. She couldn't sleep. The thoughts had come again, circling, refusing to quiet down no matter how many times she told them to stop. She lay in the dark and, almost without meaning to, she whispered into the silence, "Where are you right now?" And she remembered, from somewhere far back in her memory, a story she'd heard as a child. A story about a boat, and a storm, and a group of frightened men who were certain they were about to drown. You may know this story too. Jesus and his friends were crossing the water when a violent storm rose up around them, waves crashing over the sides of the boat, wind tearing at the sails, the kind of storm that makes even experienced fishermen believe their end has come. And where was Jesus in the middle of all that chaos? Asleep. In the stern of the boat. Undisturbed. Not because he didn't care. Not because he was unaware. But because he knew something his friends had forgotten in their panic, that the storm was never bigger than he was. They woke him, terrified, certain they were about to die. And he stood, and he spoke 3 words to the wind and the waves, "Peace, be still," and the sea became calm. Just like that. As if it had simply been waiting for permission to rest. I think about that story differently now than I used to. Because I don't think it's only about the wind and the waves. I think it's about every storm you've ever laid awake in the middle of, every fear that felt like it was going to capsize you, every night you've whispered "Where are you?" into the dark, certain you were facing it alone. He was in the boat the whole time. He is in the room with you right now. You don't have to shout for his attention. You don't have to have the right words, or a strong enough faith, or a clean enough heart. You simply have to turn toward him, the way those frightened men turned toward the stern of the boat, and let him hear you. The woman in our story did exactly that night. She didn't pray anything eloquent. She didn't have the strength for eloquence. She just said, quietly, into the dark of her bedroom, "I'm scared, and I don't know how to stop being scared. Please, be near me." And something happened that she still finds hard to put into words. It wasn't a vision. It wasn't a voice from heaven. It was simpler than that, and somehow more real than anything she'd experienced before. A stillness settled over her, deep and unhurried, like a hand resting gently on her chest. Her breathing slowed on its own. The circling thoughts quieted, not because she'd forced them to, but because something stronger than them had entered the room. Peace, be still. Those words weren't just spoken over a sea 2,000 years ago. They are spoken over you tonight, in whatever storm you're lying awake inside of. Over your finances. Over your health. Over the relationship that feels broken, the diagnosis you're still processing, the child you're worried about, the future that feels uncertain in every direction you look. He is not asleep to your pain, even in the moments it feels that way. He is fully aware, fully present, and fully capable of speaking peace into exactly the place you need it most. You don't have to fix the storm yourself tonight. You were never meant to carry that alone. Let him stand up in the boat of your life. Let him speak. And let yourself, just for tonight, simply, rest in the sound of his voice, even if you can't hear it with your ears, even if you only feel it, quietly, in your chest, the way she did. Be still. You are held. You are not sinking. Not tonight. Rest came slowly for her, but it came. And with it came something she hadn't expected, the surfacing of old wounds she thought she'd buried well enough to forget. That's often how healing works, isn't it? It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for a convenient season. It rises up quietly, in the middle of an ordinary week, and asks you to finally look at the thing you've been carrying without ever fully setting it down. For her, it was years of feeling unseen. Of trying so hard to be enough, for her family, for her work, for people who never quite noticed the effort it took. She had learned to keep moving, to keep functioning, to never let anyone see how tired she truly was underneath it all. And somewhere along the way, she'd stopped believing that healing was even something she was allowed to ask for. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe you've carried something for so long, a disappointment, a loss, a version of yourself you gave up because someone else needed you to be smaller, quieter, easier, that you've stopped believing it could ever be different. I want to tell you about another woman now, one from a very old story, because I think her story speaks straight into this moment. She had been sick for 12 years. 12 long years of doctors, of treatments that didn't work, of money spent and hope worn thin. She had tried everything. She was tired, in the way that goes beyond the body and settles into the soul. And one day, she heard that a healer was passing through her town, surrounded, as always, by crowds. She didn't ask him for a private audience. She didn't feel worthy enough, or strong enough, to push her way to the front and make her request known out loud. So she simply reached, through the crowd, and touched the edge of his robe. That was all. Just a touch. Quiet, hidden, almost afraid to be noticed. And immediately, she was healed. He felt it too. He stopped, and asked who had touched him, not because he didn't know, but because he wanted her to know that her faith, however quiet, however hidden, had not gone unnoticed by him. He wanted her to step forward and be seen, fully, finally, after 12 years of feeling invisible. "Daughter," he said to her, "your faith has made you well. Go in peace." I want you to hear those same words tonight, however you need to hear them. However quiet your reaching has been. However hidden your faith has felt, even to yourself. He notices the reach. He always has. You don't have to shout to be seen by him. You don't have to have it all figured out. You simply have to reach, even a small, trembling reach, and let him do what only he can do. The woman in our story began to understand this slowly, over many nights like this one. Healing didn't arrive all at once for her either. It came in layers, the way morning light comes in layers, softening the dark corners of a room one at a time. She began to forgive people she thought she never would. She began to release expectations she'd placed on herself that were never hers to carry in the first place. She began to believe, cautiously at first, and then with more confidence, that she was allowed to rest. That she was allowed to be tired. That being loved by God never depended on how much she could produce or endure. If there is a part of you tonight still holding on to something painful, a memory, a person, a version of your story that keeps replaying, I want to gently invite you to loosen your grip on it, just a little. Not because it didn't matter. Not because it didn't hurt. But because you were never meant to carry it forever. Reach out, quietly, the way she did. Touch the hem of what you know to be true, that he is near, that he sees you, that he is already at work healing what you thought was beyond repair. And let yourself hear those same tender words tonight. You are seen. You are healed, piece by piece, layer by layer. Go in peace. I want to leave you with one last piece of her story before we close tonight. There came an evening, much later, when she sat by that same window she used to sit by in her hardest season. Only this time, she wasn't asking, "Are you even here?" She already knew the answer, settled deep in her bones, the way you know the sound of your own name. She simply sat. And she said, quietly, "Thank you." Not because everything in her life had become easy. It hadn't. There were still bills to pay, still hard conversations ahead of her, still ordinary Tuesdays that asked more of her than she felt she had to give. But she had learned something that no circumstance could take from her, that she was never facing any of it alone. Not the hard days. Not the quiet ones. Not this one. That's what I want for you too, as your eyes grow heavier and this day finally, gently, comes to a close. Wherever you are tonight, whatever storm brought you here, whatever ache you're still carrying, whatever question is still sitting unanswered in your heart, you are not facing it alone. You never have been. Not for a single moment. Let that truth be the last thing you carry into sleep tonight, instead of the worry. Instead of the noise. Instead of everything the day tried to convince you that you had to solve before you were allowed to rest. Maybe your worry tonight has a name. Maybe it's your health, and the waiting that comes with not knowing. Maybe it's your finances, the numbers that don't quite add up the way you wish they would. Maybe it's someone you love, someone whose pain you carry as if it were your own, lying awake wondering how to help them when you can barely hold yourself together. Maybe it's simply the ache of feeling behind in a life that never seems to slow down long enough for you to catch your breath. Whatever it is, bring it here, into this quiet moment, and set it down. You don't have to name it out loud. He already knows. He knew it before you did, before you found the words for it, before you even understood why your chest felt so tight tonight. He is not waiting for you to solve it before he loves you. He is not measuring your worth by how well you're holding it together. He simply asks you to rest, the way a father asks a tired child to finally stop fighting sleep and just let go. So let go. Let the vine hold you tonight, the way a branch rests, unworried, in the strength of the plant that feeds it, doing nothing to earn its place, simply staying attached, simply receiving what it needs to grow. You don't have to produce anything tonight. You don't have to strive, or perform, or prove that you're strong enough to carry what's in front of you. You only have to stay close. That is enough. That has always been enough. You are held. You are seen, in the smallest and quietest corners of your life, the ones no one else ever notices. You are loved, not for what you accomplish, not for how well you hold everything together, but simply because you are his. Let your body sink a little deeper into wherever you're resting right now. Let your hands unclench. Let your forehead soften. Let the last thoughts of the day drift away. Cool leaves on slow water, one at a time, further and further from shore, until they're gone, and all that's left is stillness. Peace, be still. Let those words wrap around you now, the way a blanket settles over tired shoulders on a cold night. There is nothing left for you to carry tonight. Nothing left to figure out. Nothing left to fix. Only rest. Only quiet. Only the gentle, certain presence of a father who has been near you this entire time, and who will still be near you when you open your eyes tomorrow. Tomorrow will come the way it always does, gently, whether you're ready for it or not. And when it does, you won't have to face it with the same weight you carried into today. Some of it, he will have already carried through the night for you, the way a good father quietly finishes the work his child fell asleep in the middle of, so she wakes to find it already lighter than she left it. You may still remember your worries in the morning. That's alright. They don't disappear simply because you rested. But you will remember them differently, not as things you have to carry alone, but as things you can hand over again, and again, as many times as you need to, for as many nights as it takes. This is not a one-time surrender. It's a practice. A quiet, ordinary, daily kind of trust, the same trust the woman in this story had to choose again and again before it finally became the way she lived. You are learning that too, even now, even if you don't feel it yet. Every night you choose to rest instead of striving, you are practicing trust. Every time you whisper thank you instead of demanding answers, you are practicing trust. And little by little, the way morning light softens a dark room, that trust becomes the quiet foundation your whole life rests on. So for tonight, there is nothing left to practice. Only rest. Only stillness. Only the soft, certain knowledge that you are exactly where you're meant to be, held by someone who was never once distracted from you, not for a single moment of this long day. Sleep now. You are safe here. You are home here, in this moment, in this peace, in this love that never once looked away from you, not tonight, not ever. Rest well, tired heart. You are held until morning, and long after that too. This has been the Mercy Vine. Sleep in his peace.